Πείτε μου τουλάχιστον με πόσα kilobyte φορτώνουμε.
Κόνεξ από τον ΟΤΕ. Σταθερά, γρήγορο και αξιόπιστο ίντερνετ.
I was sitting in a car in Los Angeles and my sister's friend said, "What took you so long?" I really loved the name. So I went on my phone and I went to this website, godaddy.com, and I couldn't buy whattookyousonglong.com. So I bought whattookyousonglong.org. I didn't know what to use it for, but 2 weeks later, this idea came up, let's cross Africa and we do filming, and we used What Took You So Long as this platform to share our ideas, and then it became a non-profit. So we got a team of 7-8 people together, and we started in Morocco, and then for 2.5 months we traveled by buses and trains down to South Africa, and we filmed 22 small grassroots organizations in 16 different countries. And that was the beginning of the What Took You So Long Foundation. So we go out in the world now, and we bring students and we bring volunteers with us, and we go film unsung heroes and untold stories, working with different non-profits and social businesses, trying to create movements. And here we are today, 40 countries later, and life is great. Right, so we are full-time right now 4 people. There's a support network of 20 people around the world who are helping us to push forward. And in the last 3 years, we maybe had 80 or 90 people who have been a part of the team, maybe 1 month, 2 months, 3 months for some project. The different roles of the core team is one is doing filmmaking most of the time, one is doing audio most of the time, and one is doing most of the coordination and the fixing. So the head filmmaker is Alicia Saleh, an American woman. She went to film school and she was a Peace Corps volunteer. I met her in Ghana. I was there with volunteers and she was there filming. And I said, let's go across Africa together, you film it. And since then, together we've been filming everywhere. And it's been a life journey, really. And you just bump into people all everywhere, either online or offline. And you say, this is what I'm doing, do you want to come? Right now, we are directly 4 people involved with What Took You So Long. We are 3 people based in Nairobi and 1 person based in London. We have a lot of volunteers that are working with us online. So they are based in America, China, Hong Kong, South America, and they are supporting our work. So if we are filming in a region and we're going to another country, they will do a lot of research on our behalf to make sure that all the local media is ready for us when we come, all the bloggers, all the people on Twitter, so we can collaborate with all the different media outlets in the country that we film. And then we have a lot of volunteers that come with us. And in the last 3 years, we've had up to 80, 90 people who come and join the film team for 1 or 2 or 3 months to learn filmmaking and be a part of a small movement. There are 3 different kinds of projects that we're doing. We film for larger non-profit. So they say we would like to have a profile video about our work in Liberia. So we sit down together and we go out and film a video for them. They would pay us to do that. They will use it to highlight their work, and hopefully they can raise more money and maybe mobilize volunteers. Then we do our passion projects. We raise the money online through crowdfunding. People pledge money, $20, $50, and then they will get a book, get a CD, a video, and then that we have enough money to go out and film. Depending on what project we do, we push out the video on different outlets. There is Huffington Post. We can push it out there on their change department. They have a lot of millions of viewers. We can get it out on Matador Network. They are the biggest travel community website in the world. And we just use different networks to push it out. And the whole reason why we are operating and we are doing it guerrilla style is because it's all about networks. How can you utilize different networks to get what you need? Everything from accommodation to distribution to contacts in the NGO world, it all comes from different networks that we are working with. When we travel to Africa or any other country in the world, we have a certain set of rules that we always embrace. We never stay in hotels, but we always try to stay with the people that we are filming. That is not always possible, so then we use different networks, like couch surfing, which enables you to sleep at other people's couches. So we are maybe 5-6 people, you cannot fit on couches, so we sleep on the floor. Or we sleep in tents that we always bring with us. And sometimes you don't have time to look, and then you sleep on the ground. Sometimes we sleep in a staircase in a tall building. We just make sure that we stay with the people, because you can really connect with the community much faster if you stay with people who live there. You stay in a hotel and it's very hard for you to know what's going on the ground. But if you sleep on the ground, it's quite obvious what is happening on the ground. Wherever we go, we always travel by public transport. If you go and film in a small African village and you have a big SUV or a big 4x4, it's very easy that it becomes an intimidating experience. You come in there, the power balance is wrong. But if you come there and travel as the people who live in the village travel, then you are able to connect on a much different wavelength. And the quality of the film and the documentary will be totally different. We always try to embrace local traditional customs. So there is something called betel nuts. 800 million people chew betel nuts around the world. When we were in Papua New Guinea, we were chewing this nut, and it's a soft narcotics. It goes into your head and you get a buzzy. But we realized that this is the best way for you to really show respect to the different communities that you meet. So after Papua New Guinea, everywhere we go, we start using these local customs like chewing cut. In Ethiopia, Kenya, Somaliland, you chew it and you get a buzz. It's a soft narcotic, but it's the best way to turn yourself into family. Before you do this, you're an outsider, but when you sit down and you smoke shisha in the Middle East or Egypt, or you chew cut or you chew betel nut, then you convert yourself into family from an outsider, and that's really what's necessary if you want to capture genuine video content. Because you don't know if they're good or bad until you are on the ground, visiting the NGO, seeing what they're doing, talking with the people who are benefiting from it, talking with the people who are running the projects. You can never know for sure. You have to be on the ground to know if the project is good or bad. And sometimes it might be good right now, but the environment is changing and 2 years later it's not good. Like, how do you assess if a project is working or not? Do you have to stay living with the beneficiaries for a week, a month, a year? How long do you have to be on the ground to know if an NGO is actually doing good work or bad work? I don't know. It's very hard to generalize which countries that work and which not to work. So we were filming in Liberia for 1.5 months. It's a post-war torn country and they have the most non-profit presence per capita. All the NGOs are based in the capital and the aid doesn't really get out to the people and its development is not happening fast enough. A place like Somaliland, which is a breakout state from Somalia, they're not really a legit state. Only one country, Ethiopia, says that they're a country, but they have their own currency and their own government, and they're very proud that there are very few NGOs operating there. They have taken charge of their own destiny without any development money. The question is this: would Africa be better or worse if nothing happened? If they were by themselves and nobody came to set up different projects? When we were traveling down from Morocco into Mauritania, there's a region called Western Sahara. And when you travel through there, you have to be very careful. And if you talk with Morocco people, you say, I'm going to Moroccan Sahara. But when you are hanging out with Sahara people, you say, it's so nice to be in Western Sahara. And we started talking with different people who were from Sahara region, the capital there. And we said, we're coming to film different projects. And this guy who was a human rights activist, he said, come and stay with me. I will connect you with all the human rights people, but we have to be very careful. So we come in there and we meet up with him in secret. And then we notice that we are being followed by a car. And he says, you guys will be followed by the Secret Service. I will not be able to walk with you to the people you will interview. You can stay in my place. I will tell you where to go on the phone. So we go and meet different people. We meet them outside a mosque, and then they say, follow us, and we walk after them, and we see the security service, and then we sneak into a house, and we do interviews. And there was some misunderstanding as well. The people that we worked with, they thought we were working for Human Rights Watch. So we became kind of a political figure, and everybody wanted us to come and interview them, and we met people who's been in prison for 10 years, they just got released, and we sit there and interview, and it became very stressful scenario. Our photographer, an American woman, she freaked out, she ran away and had to go and relax. She thought that the shit would hit the fan and we would all be arrested. We were supposed to stay in the region for like a week. We have to travel down to Mauritania to find refuge because it was getting too nervous. Like we're driving in a bush taxi and we had to wait half an hour for some Secret Service guy who was pretending to be a businessman to sit in the car. So he was sitting in the car when we were driving and listening on everything we were saying, trying to figure out who we were, what were we doing there. So that was quite gnarly. But you have to be very careful not to become too political because you will get into trouble. Later on this trip, we were going in Cameroon, and we're going through this jungle to the border at night. And we were stopped by people with machine guns. And we thought, all our equipment, everything is going to be taken, we're done. But the guys who stopped us were the military forces, the government. And they were just telling us that they killed some people the night before and they wished us well. But it could have been very, very bad. So we've been lucky. We've been very lucky. We lose equipment sometimes when we travel, but we don't usually get robbed or anything. The key thing when you are working in hard environments is that you have good local supports. You work with good people on the ground who have respect in the communities, and if they have credibility, so will you have. So if you're totally alone and don't work with people on the ground, then everything will fall apart, maybe. But we break many laws when we go. We never apply for country or location permission. It takes too long time, it's very costly, and we don't want the government to know where we are. And we don't really know where we're going. We just plan everything very organic. We go and we film and then we move to the next place. We don't have time to wait for some location permission to come in. There was a friend of mine who went to have a meeting with a government person, and he waited for 2 hours to have a meeting, and then the guy came and he asked, 2 hours late, what happened? And he says, you got the watch, I got the time. I realized then that if you're in a region and nobody has a phone on them or nobody has a watch on them, for them time is not relevant. And that is fine. For them, the Western concept of time is not important. And I started to embrace it back then a few years ago, and I still don't have a watch, and I feel very liberated. It's hard to know where the change will come from, but I feel that there are a lot of positive stories coming out, and there's so much creativity and startup energy in Africa at the moment. And when you are forced to innovate, then you will make it happen. Developing world is continuing to develop. The developed world has stopped to develop. Just based on the name, developed is finished. Developing is continuous, moving forward into the future. Who knows what's going to happen in 3-4 years? There's so many young people who are moving to Africa now. They get a good degree at Princeton, Oxford, Cambridge, and then they go and start something in Africa in collaboration with locals. It's crazy. A lot of it will be beautiful. Some of it will fail, but in the end, I think there's a new era coming. If I had unlimited money, I would set up different initiatives around Africa where people would come up with ideas and set up their own small businesses. And then after a few years, the projects would become sustainable and money would not need to be pumped in. It all comes down to income generating activities. And the question is, how can you set up a system to make sure that people are creating jobs from within? Creating jobs is what Africa needs. Right now, we have a big problem. Too many people want to come and learn filmmaking and participate in our incubation team. But we cannot take care of everybody. So we are planning to launch a platform in the end of January called fishtank.it, fishtank.it. We create fish tanks, which is guerrilla film teams. A filmmaker will be in charge of the team, and people who are amateur enthusiasts or they are semi-professionals, they can sign up to the teams, and for 3 weeks they will go and film a project, and then there's an editor that will create something, and then we push out the video on different platforms to maximize the impact. That's the idea, and we're working right now to make it happen, brother. The world is changing right now. You can use a 7D camera or a similar camera and you can go out and create content. It's not like it used to be before where you have to have big crews and a lot of expensive equipment. Now you can get your own equipment and go out and film. Democratizing filmmaking is what's happening around the world. So there are teams of 3 people, 4 people. Sometimes a one-person army can go out and create content. For me, basically, it is guerrilla filmmaking, which means that you have skeleton crews, people come together, and on low budget or no budget, you go out and create something together. Never stop moving. It's an addiction to move, but I have started to embrace this addiction and try to control it.